Hey everyone, welcome to the video, and today we're going to be talking about creatine. Now, for whatever reason, creatine has become quite a controversial supplement and subject. Now, all the time I get comments and messages from people saying, you know, I'm blank years old, can I use creatine? Or I'm doing blankety blank blank, is it okay if I use creatine? Now, for some reason, people think that creatine is possibly a steroid, or they think it's unnatural, or they think that you have to be a certain age to take it. And I feel like there's just a lot of misinformation about creatine. So for those of you who want to know more about creatine, for those of you who ask me questions all the time about what is creatine? Is it a steroid? Am I allowed to take it? Is it okay if I do it when I'm doing this? Listen, this is going to be the scientific breakdown of what creatine is so you can know exactly what it is, what it's doing in your body, and how to get it in with your diet or with supplementation, everything. Here it comes. Now, before you understand what creatine is, you have to understand what ATP is, the molecule for energy, right? Now, ATP, adenosine triphosphate, that is the most important molecule in your whole body. It provides you energy for doing anything at all. Me talking right now, I'm breaking ATP down. When I'm working out, breaking ATP down. Now, what creatine does is help create more ATP. Now, this is how I'm going to show you how this is done. Now, an ATP, just like the name it shows you, adenosine, so there's one adenosine attached to 3 phosphates. They're all equal size, I just suck at drawing. Okay, look at that horrible drawing. Anyways, adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine, 1, 2, 3 phosphates, right? Okay, now for your body to perform any action, it needs to break this ATP down into an ADP. So it needs to change it from adenosine triphosphate to adenosine diphosphate. Now, all that means is that the last phosphate on this chain is breaking off. And now, instead of 3 phosphates being attached to the adenosine, 2 phosphates are attached to the adenosine. And by that action happening, that last phosphate breaking off, you actually created action, energy, right? You've used that energy molecule. Now it's an adenosine diphosphate. There's 2 phosphates. Now for it to create any more, for it to do anything else, for it to have any more ability to create an action, it needs to go back from an ADP diphosphate to an ATP triphosphate. Now how are we going to give it that extra phosphate back? Well, that's where creatine comes in. Now you have creatine in your body naturally already from eating meats, nuts, all sorts of different foods. Your body breaks down amino acids in your liver and you get creatine into your blood and your muscles, of course. Now, creatine is completely natural because of that fact. And I want you to understand that you all already have creatine in your body. Whether you're supplementing with it or not, whether your mom says you should or should not take creatine, you have creatine right here all over you. You know what I'm saying? So here's where creatine phosphate comes into play. Now, creatine phosphate is a creatine attached to a phosphate. Now, this extra P right here can break off and attach to an ADP, one that has 2 phosphates. It can reattach to the end and recreate an ATP from an ADP. Now, if you take this phosphate, attach it here, then you have a brand new energy molecule again. Now you can use that ATP to do any sort of action again. For example, you could get an extra rep, maybe, or maybe half a rep, or maybe 2 reps, whatever, however much CP is turning back into ATP. Now this is why creatine is a great supplement to take, because it's only going to help you a little bit, right? It's going to give you a little bit of extra gas when you're doing a set. Maybe you'll get an extra rep in, and that 1 extra rep times 365 days is a whole extra, who knows, a half inch of progress that you made that year. Creatine is a great supplement to supplement with. Now you might be thinking, what's creatine phosphate? I've always heard of crealkaline or creatine monohydrate or creatine this or that or whatever the hell else. Now creatine phosphate is what all of those things turn into when they get into your body. Whether you're taking creatine that's $8,000 for a bottle, or you're taking the most basic creatine, which is creatine monohydrate, it's all going to go into your body and turn into creatine phosphate, and then it's going to help you turn ADP into ATP. ATP releases energy and turns into ADP. Then Mr. Badass Creatine comes in and lends its extra phosphate and turns that ADP, which can't be used anymore, back into amazing, beautiful, helpful ATP. Excuse my horrible writing skills. You know what I'm saying though? I'm trying to get you guys the scientific understanding of what creatine is. Instead of just giving you the bro science like, oh yeah, it fills up your muscle with gasoline. It turns ADP with CP, you combine those two, and it turns it into ATP. All right, that's enough of Dr. Brian. Now, if you're a young person and you're trying to decide whether you should take creatine or not, I'm not going to tell you that you should unless you're over 18, just because it's not in my scope of practice to do that. Professionally, I'm not qualified to do that. But if you're under 18 and say your parents, this is a problem that I get a lot of people comment and message me this, they say that their parents say they shouldn't take creatine, they should stay away from it, they've heard bad things about it. You should show your parents this video and see if they can grasp the concept of creatine, what it actually is, and the fact that it's actually already in them as well. And then hopefully, after showing them this video, they'll have a more knowledgeable understanding of what's going on, and then they'll let you supplement with creatine. Now, if you're 18 years or older, should you use creatine when you're bulking or cutting? Should you use creatine, period? Yes, I think that if you have the ability to take creatine, totally take it. Now, it's not going to change really anything immediately. You're not going to be like, whoa, I'm 500% stronger. It's not something like that. It gives you a little extra gas in your tank. That's it, just a little extra push. And maybe it's something you don't notice, you don't feel, but it is there and it is helping you. So if you can take it, I would suggest yes. Now yes, creatine is gonna make you hold a little bit of extra water. So when you're bulking, it's not as noticeable since you're already holding a lot of water from eating a lot of food and getting a lot of sodium in. But when you're cutting, I guess it's up to you. You know, it's gonna help you get a little extra push in the gym, but it is going to help you also hold water. So if you're cutting, it's kind of like up in the air. Maybe if you're doing a photo shoot or a competition, you want to cut that creatine. But if you're really just lifting throughout the year, I would always suggest taking creatine. Now, what type of creatine should you take? I'd say this is a question I get asked second most, right after, should I take creatine? Now, there's all sorts of different creatine products out there. Now, there's like Crealkaline, there's creatine ethyl ester, there's creatine 5000, there's all these different products, and they have different versions of creatine, and they have different things that make them the right creatine to take. Now, those are all great and dandy, and they do have, you know, some pros to what you're paying for, but instead of wasting your money, instead of paying $65 for a month of creatine, go and get creatine monohydrate. Simple, super simple creatine. It's exactly what your body needs. There's no reason for you to have to buy all these expensive things, because creatine monohydrate, you can buy a 3 or 4 month tub for I think like 25 to 35 bucks, depending on what store or online store you're going to. Now finally, how much and when should you take creatine? Now you should take 5 grams of creatine. Usually I think that is a tablespoon, I believe, of creatine monohydrate. The serving size will be on the back of it. But when should you take creatine? That's important, right? You should take creatine with some sort of carb, some sort of large carb meal. Now, I usually go with right after my workout, because I'm getting a mass gainer and I'm getting some sort of drinking carbs. I'm getting like 75 grams of carbs in a liquid. Now I take my creatine with that, I just put it into my mass gainer, and because I have those carbs going into me, my insulin is raising, and because my insulin is raising, that insulin is going to drive that creatine into my body, into my muscles rather. Now just for the record, I actually don't take creatine right now. I have for the last 4 years of my lifting career, but ever since I started Accutane, I stopped taking creatine just because I heard that it can aggravate acne. So if you have a problem with acne, you might want to try cutting out creatine and seeing if it helps you. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to create a video on YouTube that is very clear, concise, and actually shows the science and gives you solid answers behind all the questions you have about creatine, because I've looked around and there's just like 25-minute videos and you don't want to watch those. You want the solid answer, but you want it quick. So I hope I could help you guys learn a little about creatine, and next time your friends are spouting stupid knowledge about creatine, like, oh, creatine's a steroid, you're not natural, or oh, creatine does this and that, show them this video. Let them understand the science behind it. Let them understand what creatine really is and what it really does in your body, and the fact that you already have it in you. Alright, you guys are the best. Go check out the website, beyondtheweek.com, for some of my tanks if you want to support me and the channel. I thank you guys again for watching the video. Team Beyond the Week, lift heavy or die MIRIN. Play the dubstep, Ryan!